Hi, my name is Bryson Rea, and for my project, I chose Sustainability Challenge. This is my project identification page, this is my table of contents, and this is my proof of online submission. Through the use of my SCCLA planning process sheet, I set up a path that would lead to overall success. I began with my initial concern, which was the safety of drivers across Minnesota. I then set my goal, which was to advance forward my solutions for better road safety in Minnesota. I then formed a plan to expand my voice throughout my community and high-ranking officials. That plan has turned into an act today, as I am in contact and working with a research team under the Public Works sector of the Blaine government and the Blaine Director of Public Works. Following my project, I learned that if you try hard enough, someone will connect with you, and that is when you act. Now, my inspiration for this project was born in October of 2018, when my father and I traveled to Iceland. While exploring in Iceland, we drove the Ring Road, which goes along the coast of the country. Along this highway, there were edge marker posts, or road reflectors. And while seeing how my father used these to navigate in the dark, I wondered if the same solution could be installed in Minnesota. Here are some photos to give you an idea of what those reflectors look like. In my research into the topic of this project, I decided to look into solutions that have been used before. In doing so, I learned about Percy Shaw. On a late night in Halifax, Yorkshire, Shaw was driving down a dark street. Along the sides of this road laid several pieces of construction equipment that had a high reflectivity to them. And after realizing that he had been following this reflectiveness as a guide through the dark and dangerous road, he realized that he could create a game changer in public road safety. This is when Shaw decided to create his business, the Cat's Eyes Road Reflector Company. This company produced road reflectors that shine bright when headlights were shined towards them. As people realized just how effective these reflectors were, his business flourished in 1941. Road accidents throughout the UK, where the reflectors had been installed the most, dropped significantly from 1941 on. Now, in order to best understand the problem, I looked through deep accident records in the year of 2018. In Minnesota, the rate of car accidents per day raises to 203 car accidents per day in rainy, snowy, or wet conditions, and then lowers back down to 126 crashes per day in dry or clear conditions. So clearly there is a large disproportion here based on the inclement weather situations. Understanding the problem. In Minnesota, inclement weather can include heavy rain, bitter cold, heavy snow, freezing rain, and even sleet, all of which can dramatically decrease the visibility of the road edges and road paint lines on public roads. In nighttime conditions, drivers have an equal amount of difficulty in seeing the paint lines, especially when rain comes in. Examining and settling on a solution. Now, this is a 3-lane road, the section of Minnesota 65 just before the on-ramp to I-10. As seen clearly in the photo I took, it is impossible to tell where the lane paint is and which lane you are actually in. Some solutions have already been put into action in other places, including Iceland. In Iceland, heavy snowfall is common, so due to this they have installed edge marker posts in order to avoid reflectors being covered up by snowfall. This solution could also work well in rural areas of Minnesota, where seeing even the edges of roads can be difficult. A mixture of rain and the darkness of night can be noticed in any state, but with how much precipitation Minnesota receives, it becomes emphasized. As seen in the photo, seeing the road markers even right in front of your car can be extremely difficult. This is where the solution of normal road reflectors would come into effect. Similar to Cat's Eyes road reflectors, these would lay on the painted lane lines and would reflect heavily when shined on by car lights, lighting up the road far beyond wherever the car is. Now, edge marker posts, or EMPs, are clearly a large key for rural areas throughout Minnesota, as they avoid the problem of snowfall covering them up. In these rural areas, some roads go days without being plowed, if ever. So as for the problem we encounter on rainy nights, normal road reflectors are the most obvious solution. This solution would be most helpful in urban and suburban areas where more than one-lane roads are very common. And in urban and suburban areas, edge marker posts aren't as needed, as the streetlights already illuminate the road edges for us. How the public and surrounding cities can help. When looking at how to achieve my goal of spreading my word, I have to look towards how the public and other cities can help me achieve said goal. The first way is by simply sharing your concerns as a citizen with those in your community. An exponential growth can then be caused as people continue to share that with their friends and family. The second way is through other cities making strides towards bringing their residents a safer environment to live in by adapting to the dangers we face on the road. And finally, voting for those who will help. When the next elections approach, keep an eye out for those who promise to address these road safety concerns. Environmental responsibility of project. When creating any solution to help humans, we need to make sure we aren't hurting anyone else sharing our home, Earth. Now, EMPs would clearly not have a negative environmental impact as they are made using recyclable polyethylene. The same goes for road reflectors as well. Both of these reflectors are installed on and within feet of the road, not causing any larger of an environmental footprint than the road was already causing. Evaluation of project, solution. When choosing a solution, we must assure the solution is in fact effective, and this solution has been proven effective time and time again. For some reliable examples, in a study published by onlinepubs.org, it was found that 100% of Californian drivers that were interviewed found the cat's eye road reflectors to be helpful. In Wyoming, reflectors were installed to reduce animal collisions with cars, and the installation reduced them by 65%. As for EMPs, drivingtest.co.nz found that the EMPs are durable enough to last 10 years. And Annisflow Americas found that the lane reflectors have been proven to reduce accidents by 0.5 accidents per million vehicle miles. Educational presentation number 1, City Council. In my first educational presentation, I attended a City Council meeting in Blaine and gave a speech highlighting my findings. My target audience with this presentation were primarily the community leaders in Blaine, and this was due to the fact that I could get their attention. Action would come much more quickly. My secondary target audience were the citizens of Blaine, as the meeting was broadcast on live TV. The presentation was very effective. Following my presentation, Blaine Director of Public Works John Hawkes told me that he was very interested in my findings and would like to get me involved with the local road research board in order to look into possibly sparking a project. He then told me to email him my findings and gave me a business card. In my first email with John, I sent him my findings and told him to let me know if I could help out the research team. In the second email, John replied and asked for my inspiration for the project and who created it. In the third email, I replied to John saying that I actually made the presentation from scratch, and that I was inspired by my trip to Iceland in 2018. I also mentioned that I was making the project for my STAR event in FCCLA. In the final email, John said he agreed with me on the possible solutions and that he would forward my project to the local road research board. I am currently waiting on feedback from the team, but this has been kind of delayed due to the COVID-19 concerns. My hope and expectation is that this will lead to the installation of reflectors all around Blaine and the greater Twin Cities area. Educational presentation number 2, New Year's Eve. My second educational presentation was held at my neighborhood New Year's Eve party, and in this I explained my findings. My target audience were the citizens of Blaine, as again, an exponential growth through them telling who they know about the problem could spark a large following. Now, the effectiveness was clear. After the presentation, I asked several people who attended the party to write on an index card what they thought of the speech in order to see if there was any way I could improve my speech for future cases. In return, Christy Trabant told me that she agreed with my points and would try to forward my message to her fellow community members. Educational presentation number 3, Church. In my third educational presentation, it was held at Living Faith Church during Sunday service on December 15th. The audience of my presentation was aimed towards active members of the community, especially those who would commit to forwarding the message themselves. The effectiveness of my church presentation was evident. The youth pastor at the church came and talked to me for a while and then told me he was very interested in the solution and that he would forward the message throughout the community. Connection to family and consumer sciences, and sustainability topics. The connection to family and consumer sciences is clear. My project connects to FCS Standard 2.1, which highlights the management of transportation, and this is due to my project being directly aimed at improving and managing the improvement of transportation safety in my community. My project connects to FCS Standard 2.2.1, which highlights relating individual and family responsibility in relation to environmental issues. The environmental issues that cause unsafe transportation can be fixed, and it is the families and individuals throughout the community's responsibility to fight for said safety. My project connects to FCS Standard 2.2.3, which highlights demonstrating behaviors that recycle resources in order to maintain the environment. My project does this well by making sure that EMPs can be easily recycled. My project and solution clearly tie into the sustainability topic named Efforts to Produce Healthy Environments Through Sustainable Design. It does this by creating a safer environment for us to live in, by helping ourselves adapt to the environment around us rather than altering it. It also does this by making sure we don't harm the environment in the process, through my use of a sustainable and extremely environmentally friendly design. Now, as I'm sure you expect, this has all been much delayed by the COVID-19 concerns. Now, this is my works cited page. Thank you. Are there any questions? If you can ask them.